Mia Dawson's fingers froze over her phone screen as she realized what she'd just done. The message, meant for her best friend about the dangerous package she'd witnessed being delivered to apartment 4B, had just sent to the wrong number. And that number had replied with 2 words that made her blood turn to ice: "Who's asking?" Hey beautiful souls. Welcome back to the channel. Tell me in the comment where you are watching from today. I love connecting with you all. And hey, if you're new here or haven't already, smash that subscribe button because today's story is going to take you on an emotional roller coaster you absolutely cannot miss. Trust me, you'll want to be here for every single twist. Now, let's dive in. The phone booth glass was cold against Mia's back as she watched 3 black SUVs roll into the parking lot across the street. It was 11:47 p.m. in downtown Chicago, and the November wind cut through her jacket like a blade. She ducked into this relic of a phone booth, one of the last in the city, the moment she saw the vehicles. The same vehicles that had been circling her apartment building for the past hour. Her phone buzzed again. "You mentioned apartment 4B. You mentioned a package. I'm very interested in how you know about this." Mia's heart hammered against her ribs. She'd been walking home from her shift at the diner when she'd seen them, 2 men in expensive suits carrying a long, suspiciously body-shaped duffel bag into her building. She'd snapped a photo, her hands shaking, and tried to text her friend Rebecca who worked for the local news station. But she hadn't texted Rebecca. She'd texted a number 1 digit off. And now, as she watched a 4th vehicle join the others, she understood with absolute clarity that whoever received her message wasn't just some random person. The coordinated movement of the men stepping out of the SUVs, the way they moved with military precision, the bulges under their jackets, this was organized. Powerful. Deadly. Her phone lit up with an incoming call from the unknown number. Mia stared at the screen, her breath fogging in the small space. Every instinct screamed not to answer. But what if ignoring it made things worse? What if they were already tracking her location? The photo she'd sent had metadata, coordinates, timestamp, everything. With trembling fingers, she answered but said nothing. "Ms. Dawson." The voice was male, deep, with an edge that could cut glass. Controlled. Authoritative. Dangerous. "I know your name now. I know where you live. And I know you saw something tonight that you weren't supposed to see." She wanted to speak, to explain, to beg, but her throat had sealed shut. "You have 2 choices," the voice continued, almost gentle now, which somehow made it more terrifying. "You can run, and my men will find you within the hour. Or you can walk to the black Mercedes currently parked at the corner of State and Madison. The one you're staring at right now." Mia's eyes snapped to the Mercedes. A man in the driver's seat raised his hand in a small wave. They'd been watching her this entire time. "Come willingly, and we'll talk. Run, and..." He paused. "Well, you seem like an intelligent woman. I trust you understand the implications." The line went dead. Mia's entire body shook as she looked down at her phone, then back at the Mercedes, then at the men now stationed at every corner of the intersection. They weren't hiding anymore. They were showing her exactly how surrounded she was. How powerless. How completely and utterly trapped. She had maybe 60 seconds to make a choice that would determine whether she saw another sunrise. Mia's legs felt like concrete as she stepped out of the phone booth. The cold air hit her face, but she barely felt it. All she could feel was the weight of every decision she'd made in the past 3 years pressing down on her shoulders. She wasn't supposed to be in Chicago. She was supposed to be in medical school, supposed to be Dr. Mia Dawson by now, supposed to be making her late mother proud. But life had other plans. Cancer didn't care about dreams. Neither did the $180,000 in medical debt her mother had left behind, debt that Mia had inherited along with her mother's wedding ring and a showbox full of old photographs. So here she was. 26 years old, slinging coffee and burgers at Mario's Diner on the South Side, living in a studio apartment that smelled like her neighbor's weed, watching her dreams gather dust in a box under her bed alongside her mother's belongings. And now, walking toward a Mercedes that probably cost more than she'd make in 5 years, about to meet someone who could end her life before she'd even really lived it. The rear door opened as she approached. A man stepped out, not the driver, but another man. Tall, broad-shouldered, with steel-gray eyes and a scar that ran from his left eyebrow to his cheekbone. He wore an expensive suit that did nothing to hide the danger radiating from him. "Ms. Dawson," he said, his voice surprisingly gentle. "I'm Julian. Mr. Hagen sent me to escort you. You're not in danger if you cooperate." "That's what people always say right before someone ends up in danger," Mia heard herself say, surprised her voice worked at all. The corner of Julian's mouth twitched, almost a smile. Fair point. But if Mr. Hagen wanted you dead, we wouldn't be having this conversation. He gestured to the open door. Please. Mia looked at Julian, really looked at him. Despite the scar, despite the obvious threat he represented, there was something in his eyes. Not kindness exactly, but perhaps, understanding? Like he'd seen people in her position before and felt something about it. She got in the car. The interior smelled like leather and expensive cologne. Julian slid in beside her, and the driver pulled away from the curb with smooth precision. Mia's phone buzzed in her pocket, and she pulled it out with shaking hands. Rebecca said, "Girl, where are you? You were supposed to be here an hour ago. I made popcorn and everything for our true crime binge." Rebecca. Her best friend since they'd met at a grief support group 2 years ago. Rebecca had lost her brother to gang violence, Mia had lost her mother to cancer. They'd bonded over shared trauma and a mutual love of crime documentaries, the irony of which wasn't lost on Mia right now. She started to type a response, but Julian's hand gently covered her phone screen. "I wouldn't," he said quietly. "Mr. Hagen will want to speak with you first. Determine what you know, what you've shared. Bringing others into this." He shook his head. It wouldn't be good for them. The threat was clear, even wrapped in courtesy. Mia deleted her drafted message and put the phone away. "What was in the bag?" she whispered. Julian stared straight ahead. "That's not my question to answer." They drove in silence through the city, away from the lights and life of downtown, toward the warehouse district where buildings stood dark and empty like tombstones. Mia's mind raced through every crime show she'd ever watched with Rebecca. She thought about the self-defense class she'd taken one semester in college and how useless those skills felt now. She thought about her mother's last words, "Be brave, baby. You're stronger than you know." She didn't feel strong. She felt like a stupid girl who'd sent one wrong text and thrown her entire life away. The Mercedes pulled up to a renovated warehouse, the only building on the block with lights on. It looked legitimate from the outside, with a discreet sign reading Hagen Imports above the entrance. But Mia knew better now. This was the heart of something dark, something she'd stumbled into by pure, terrible accident. Julian opened her door. "One more thing, Miss Dawson," he said as she stepped out. "Vincent Hagen is not a patient man, but he is a fair one. Tell him the truth. All of it. Your only chance of walking out of here is complete honesty." "And if I do that?" Mia asked, hating how small her voice sounded. "If I tell him everything?" Julian's scarred face softened almost imperceptibly. "Then maybe you'll get to see your friend Rebecca tomorrow. Maybe you'll get to finish that medical degree you've been saving for." Mia's head snapped up. "How do you? Mr. Hagen knows everything about you already. Your debt. Your dreams. Your mother. Everything." Julian's eyes held hers. "The question is, what will you know about him? And more importantly, what will you do with that knowledge?" The warehouse door opened, and a woman stepped out. She was beautiful, strikingly so, with dark hair pulled into a severe bun and eyes that assessed Mia like a specimen under glass. She wore a burgundy dress that probably cost more than Mia's entire wardrobe. "Sophia Keller," the woman introduced herself, extending a manicured hand. "I'm Mr. Hagen's associate. He's waiting upstairs." Her handshake was firm, businesslike, but there was something in her expression, a warning, maybe, or was it sympathy? As Mia followed Sophia into the building, she caught sight of her reflection in the glass door. Wide brown eyes, messy dark hair from the November wind, her diner uniform still smelling like grease and coffee. She looked exactly like what she was, a girl in way over her head, about to meet the kind of man her mother had always warned her about. The elevator rode up in silence, the kind of silence that made Mia's ears ring. Sophia stood beside her, checking her phone with the casual air of someone who did this every day, escorted terrified women to meet dangerous men. Maybe she did. The doors opened to a loft that looked nothing like Mia expected. No dark shadows or concrete walls. Instead, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the Chicago skyline, the city lights sparkling like fallen stars. The space was furnished with modern elegance, leather sofas, abstract art, a bar that looked like it belonged in a five-star hotel. Classical music played softly from hidden speakers. Mozart, Mia thought. Her mother used to play Mozart while cooking dinner. "He'll be with you in a moment," Sophia said, gesturing to a seat. "Would you like water? Wine?" "I'd like to go home," Mia said, then immediately regretted her tone. But Sophia's lips curved into something almost like a smile. "Honest. That's good. He appreciates honesty." She walked to the bar and poured 2 glasses of water anyway, setting one in front of Mia. Drink. You look pale. Mia's hand shook as she reached for the glass. What if it was drugged? What if? It's just water, a voice said from behind her. If I wanted you unconscious, Ms. Dawson, there are far more efficient methods. Mia spun around, and her breath caught. Vincent Hagen wasn't what she expected at all. He was young, maybe early 30s, with dark hair that looked like he'd been running his hands through it, sharp cheekbones, and eyes so blue they seemed to cut through the low lighting. He wore a white dress shirt with the sleeves rolled up, no jacket, no tie. There was a weariness to him, a tension in his shoulders that spoke of long nights and heavy burdens. He was, Mia realized with a jolt of confusion, devastatingly handsome. And that made him so much more dangerous. Mr. Hagen, she managed, standing on unsteady legs. Sit. Please. He moved past her, and she caught the scent of his cologne, something woody and expensive. He poured himself 2 fingers of whiskey and settled into the chair across from her, studying her with an intensity that made her skin prickle. You sent me an interesting message tonight, Ms. Dawson. It was a mistake, Mia said quickly. I meant to text my friend. I got one number wrong, and I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to. What did you see? His voice was calm, controlled. A businessman asking a simple question. Mia's throat went dry. 2 men. Carrying a bag. Into my building. Into apartment 4B. And you assumed the worst. He took a sip of whiskey, his eyes never leaving hers. That the bag contained something illegal. Something worth reporting to your journalist friend. He knew about Rebecca. Of course he knew. I watch a lot of crime shows, Mia said weakly. To her absolute shock, Vincent laughed. It was a short, sharp sound, but genuine. Yes, I noticed. Your Netflix history is quite revealing. Forensic Files, Mindhunter, the first 48. He leaned forward, elbows on his knees. So tell me, with all that knowledge, what do you think was in the bag? Mia's heart hammered. This felt like a test. A body, she whispered. Good guess. He stood, walking to the windows, his back to her. But wrong. The relief that flooded through Mia was so intense she felt lightheaded. It was 50 kilograms of cocaine, Vincent continued casually, as if discussing the weather. Street value approximately $2.5 million. My competitors, the Mocchetti family, have been running product through that building for 3 months. Tonight, my men intercepted a delivery. Mia's relief evaporated instantly. Drugs. He was talking about drugs like it was a corporate merger. Vincent turned back to face her. That apartment is now a crime scene waiting to happen. The Mocchettis will know their shipment was taken. They'll come looking. They'll check security footage, ask questions, find witnesses. His blue eyes pinned her. They'll find you. What? The word came out as barely a breath. The building's camera caught you, Ms. Dawson. Taking a photo of my men. Standing under a street light like a spotlight. He shook his head, something that might have been regret crossing his features. You made yourself visible. Made yourself a witness. And the Mocchettis don't leave witnesses alive. The room tilted. Mia gripped the arms of her chair. But I didn't see anything. I didn't know what. I won't tell anyone, I swear. I'll delete the photo, They don't know that, Vincent said quietly. They don't know you're just an unlucky waitress who sent the wrong text. They'll assume you're working with me. Or with the police. Either way. He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't have to. Sophia appeared at Mia's side, placing a hand on her shoulder. The gesture was surprisingly gentle. Breathe, she said softly. You're hyperventilating. Mia tried to breathe, but her chest felt too tight. This couldn't be happening. This couldn't be real. I have a proposition, Vincent said, crouching down so he was at eye level with her. Up close, she could see the flecks of gray in his blue eyes, the fine lines around them. Eyes that had seen terrible things. Done terrible things. The Mocchettis will come for you. That's inevitable now. But if you're under my protection, they can't touch you. Protection, Mia repeated numbly. You work for me. You stay close, stay visible at my side. They'll assume you're my. He paused, choosing his word carefully, associate. Harming you becomes harming me. And they're not ready for that war. Not yet. You want me to pretend to work for the Mafia. Mia's voice sounded distant, like it was coming from someone else. I want you to actually work for me, Vincent corrected. I need someone I can trust in a position at the legitimate side of my business. Someone who isn't already tangled in this world. Someone with your intelligence. He pulled out his phone, showing her the text exchange. You notice details in that photo a trained observer would catch. The time of delivery. The lack of building security. The make of the vehicle. You're observant, Ms. Dawson. That's valuable. I'm a waitress, Mia protested weakly. You're a woman 3 semesters away from a medical degree who's been working herself to death trying to pay off debt that isn't even yours. Vincent's voice softened. I looked into your situation. Your mother's medical bills. The creditors harassing you. The garnished wages. Tears burned Mia's eyes. Don't talk about my mother. I'm offering you a way out, Vincent said. Work for me. 6 months. I'll pay off every cent of that debt. I'll pay for the rest of your medical school. All you have to do is stay alive, stay close, and help me take down the Mocchettis before they take down you. Mia looked at Sophia, who gave her an almost imperceptible nod. Then at Vincent, whose blue eyes held something she couldn't quite read. Desperation? Sincerity? Or just the calculated offer of a predator who'd found useful prey? And if I say no? Mia asked, though she already knew the answer. Vincent stood, his expression hardening. Then I'll have Julian drive you home, and you'll have maybe 24 hours before the Mocchettis find you. I'll send flowers to your funeral. Sophia knows a good florist. That's not a choice, Mia said, anger suddenly cutting through her fear. That's extortion. Yes, Vincent agreed simply. It is. But it's also your only chance at survival. And if I'm being honest. He moved back to the window, his reflection ghostly in the glass. It's my only chance at taking down an empire built on far worse things than I've ever done. The Mocchettis traffic more than drugs, Ms. Dawson. They traffic people. Children. And I'm going to burn their operation to the ground. With or without you. But with you, innocent people, like yourself, might actually make it out alive. There was something in his voice. Something raw and real beneath the cold calculation. Mia thought about Rebecca, about her friend's brother who'd been killed by gang violence. About her mother, who'd spent her last days worrying about the debt she was leaving behind. About the dreams collecting dust under her bed. About the fact that she'd already lost so much. What was 6 months of her life if it meant actually having a life left to live? If I do this, Mia heard herself say, I want it in writing. The debt payment. The school tuition. Everything. Vincent turned, and for the first time, she saw genuine surprise cross his face. Then something else. Respect, maybe. Or was it the first spark of something far more dangerous? Smart, he said, and the smallest smile touched his lips. Sophia, draft the contract. Already done, Sophia said, producing a folder from seemingly nowhere. I had a feeling she'd say yes. But as Mia took the pen in her trembling hand, she couldn't shake the feeling that she wasn't just signing a contract. She was signing away the person she'd been and stepping into a world where nothing, not survival, not truth, and definitely not the dangerous attraction she'd felt when Vincent's eyes met hers, would ever be simple again. 3 days. That's how long it took for Mia's entire life to transform into something unrecognizable. On Monday morning, she'd woken up in her cramped studio apartment, dreading another double shift at the diner. By Thursday, she was living in a luxury penthouse in the Gold Coast, wearing clothes that cost more than her monthly rent used to, and learning how to spot a concealed weapon from across a room. Again, Vincent said, standing beside her in what he called his clean office, the legitimate headquarters of Hagen Imports on Michigan Avenue. Tell me what you see. Mia studied the security monitors showing the warehouse district. 3 cameras have been repositioned since yesterday. The angle on camera 6 now covers the blind spot by the south entrance. Someone's been watching our surveillance. Good. Vincent leaned closer, his shoulder brushing hers. Even through his suit jacket, she felt the heat of him. What else? She forced herself to focus on the screens instead of the way her pulse jumped at his proximity. The delivery truck that's been parked on the corner for the past 2 hours. White panel van, no company markings. That's not normal for that district. Excellent. His voice held genuine approval, and Mia hated how much that pleased her. That's Mocchetti surveillance. They've been circling closer every day. Looking for me, Mia said quietly. Looking for any weakness they can exploit. Vincent straightened, putting professional distance between them again. The loss of his warmth felt more pronounced than it should. Which is why you can't afford mistakes. Julian will be outside your door 24/7. Sophia will accompany you anywhere you need to go. And you don't, under any circumstances, contact anyone from your old life. That last part stung worse than the rest combined. I haven't talked to Rebecca in 3 days. She's worried sick. She's alive, Vincent countered, his voice hard. That's what matters. The moment you contact her, you paint a target on her back. She thinks I'm missing. Or dead. Or she thinks you took a spontaneous trip to clear your head after finding a new job, Sophia interrupted, entering the office with her usual perfect timing. She set a coffee in front of Mia, made exactly how she liked it, which was somehow more unsettling than comforting. I sent her a text from your phone. Very convincing. Lots of emojis. Mia's hands clenched into fists. You had no right. I had every right, Vincent cut in, his blue eyes flashing. You signed a contract. You agreed to my terms. Or have you forgotten the $180,000 reasons why you're here? The words hit like a slap. Mia stood abruptly, her chair scraping against the floor. How could I forget? You remind me every chance you get that I'm just another asset you've purchased. Something flickered across Vincent's face, regret, maybe, but it was gone before she could be sure. That's not what I... Save it. Mia grabbed her jacket. I need air. You don't leave without my babysitter. I know. She looked at Julian, who'd appeared in the doorway like a well-dressed shadow. Are you coming or not? Julian glanced at Vincent, who gave a tight nod. As Mia brushed past them both, she felt Vincent's gaze burning into her back. The November air was bitter, but Mia welcomed it. Anything was better than that office, that proximity, that constant reminder that she was trapped in a gilded cage of her own desperate making. Julian walked 3 paces behind her, close enough to protect, far enough to give the illusion of privacy. They developed an odd rhythm over the past 3 days. He didn't talk much, but when he did, it was usually something useful. He doesn't mean it the way it sounds, Julian said now. Mia stopped walking, turning to face him. Are you actually defending him? I'm explaining him. Julian's scarred face was thoughtful. Vincent Hagen is the youngest head of a crime family in Chicago history. He took over when his father was killed 3 years ago. He was 28 years old, fresh out of business school, and suddenly responsible for an organization that would tear itself apart if he showed even a moment of weakness. Why are you telling me this? Because you see him as a monster, Julian said simply. And he is, in many ways. But he's also the reason 40 families have legitimate paychecks instead of running drugs on street corners. He's the reason the Mocchettis haven't expanded their trafficking operation into 6 more neighborhoods. He's trying to clean up his father's mess, make the organization legitimate, but it's like turning a battleship with a canoe paddle. Mia wrapped her arms around herself. And I'm supposed to feel sorry for him? No. Julian's expression softened. But maybe understand that when he's sharp with you, it's not cruelty. It's fear. The Mocchettis killed his father for trying to go legitimate. They'll kill him for the same reason. And now, they'll kill you just for standing near him. The weight of that settled over Mia like snow, cold, suffocating, inescapable. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. We know who you are, Mia Dawson. We know you're with Hagen. When he stops watching you, and he will, we'll be waiting. Sweet dreams. The phone slipped from Mia's trembling fingers. Julian caught it, read the message, and his entire demeanor changed. Back to the car. Now. They found me. Mia's voice sounded distant, detached. How did they move? Julian had his hand on her back, propelling her toward the black SUV parked at the curb. He was on his phone, speaking in rapid, clipped tones. Threat received. Returning to base. Have Vincent locked down. The drive back took minutes but felt like hours. Mia's mind raced. They knew her name. They had her number. What else did they know? Where she was living now. That Rebecca existed? Rebecca, Mia gasped. If they know about me, they might. Already on it, Julian said, phone still to his ear. Sophia's sending someone to watch her. Discreetly. When they arrived back at the office, Vincent was waiting in the lobby. His face was a mask of controlled fury. Inside, he said. Now. Mia expected him to yell once they were in his office. Instead, he did something worse. He went completely silent, standing at the window with his back to her, his shoulders rigid with tension. I'm sorry, Mia said finally. I know I shouldn't have left, I just... You were right. His voice was quiet. Dangerous. I do treat you like an asset. Because if I treat you like anything else, I lose focus. And losing focus gets people killed. He turned to face her, and Mia's breath caught. There was something raw in his expression, something that looked almost like anguish. My father lost focus, Vincent continued. He fell in love with one of his accountants. A civilian, like you. Someone who had no business being in this world. He got distracted, made a mistake, and the Marchettis put bullets in both of them. His jaw clenched. I found them. I was the one who. I was 28 years old, and I found my father and the woman he loved bleeding out on the floor of a restaurant because he'd been too focused on protecting her to see the threat coming from another direction. Mia's anger evaporated, replaced by something that felt dangerously like compassion. Vincent. So yes, he cut her off, I treat you like an asset. Because the alternative terrifies me more than the Marchettis ever could. The air between them felt electric, charged with things neither could say. Vincent took a step toward her, and then another, until they were close enough that Mia could see the storm in his blue eyes. But you're right about something else too, he said softly. You're not just an asset. You haven't been since the moment you walked into that warehouse and looked at me like I was just a man instead of a monster. Mia's heart hammered against her ribs. What am I then? Vincent's hand rose, his fingers barely grazing her cheek. The touch was feather-light, tentative, like he was afraid she might shatter. You're the worst possible distraction at the worst possible time. Then why? The office door burst open. Sophia stood there, her usually composed face tight with urgency. We have a problem. Anthony Marchetti just walked into the lobby. He's asking to see you, Vincent. And he specifically requested that you bring your new associate. He wants to meet Mia. Now. Vincent's hand dropped from Mia's face. The vulnerable man vanished, replaced by the crime boss who'd built an empire. How many men? 6 in the lobby. Unknown how many outside. This is a power play, Vincent said, his mind clearly racing. He wants to see if she rattles. If she breaks. Do I have a choice? Mia asked, proud that her voice stayed steady. Vincent looked at her, and for just a moment, that raw emotion flickered across his face again. You always have a choice. But if you walk away now, the Marchettis will know they can use you against me. They'll never stop hunting you. Mia thought about her mother, about the courage it took to face death with grace. About Rebecca, who rebuilt her life after violence destroyed it. About the woman she'd been 3 days ago and the woman she was becoming. Then I guess it's time I met the family that wants me dead, she said, surprised by the steel in her own voice. Vincent's eyes widened slightly, and then, impossibly, he smiled. A real smile that transformed his entire face. Sophia, tell Mr. Marchetti we'll be down in 5 minutes. And have Julian position our people. If this goes wrong. It won't, Sophia said firmly. Mia's tougher than she looks. As Sophia left, Vincent caught Mia's hand. His grip was warm, solid, anchoring. Stay close to me. Don't speak unless spoken to directly. And if anything happens, anything, you get behind me. Understood? Understood. Mia squeezed his hand back. But Vincent? If I'm doing this, I need you to stop protecting me from the truth. All of it. I need to know exactly what we're walking into. Vincent studied her for a long moment. Then he nodded. The Marchettis don't just want to kill me. They want to destroy everything I'm trying to build. And they'll use you, hurt you, to do it. Anthony Marchetti is a sadist who enjoys watching people break. He's going to try to terrify you. Then I guess I'll have to disappoint him, Mia said, lifting her chin. Vincent's eyes darkened with something that looked dangerously like admiration. Or was it desire? You're going to get me killed, Mia Dawson. Right back at you, she whispered. But as they walked toward the elevator, toward the man who'd sent death threats to her phone, Mia couldn't help wondering, which would destroy her first, the Marchetti's bullets, or the way her heart jumped every time Vincent looked at her like she was something worth protecting, worth saving, worth risking everything for? The elevator descent felt like falling. Vincent's hand remained on the small of Mia's back, a gesture that could have been professional but felt anything but. She could feel the tension radiating from him, coiled and ready to strike. Remember, he murmured as the numbers ticked down. You're not afraid. You're exactly where you're supposed to be. Even though I'm terrified. Especially then. His thumb traced a small circle against her spine, so subtle she might have imagined it. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's fear walking forward anyway. The doors opened. Anthony Marchetti stood in the center of the lobby like a king holding court. He was older than Vincent, maybe late 50s, with silver hair slicked back and a smile that never reached his cold eyes. His 6 men flanked him in a semicircle, hands resting near concealed weapons. The legitimate employees of Hagen Imports had vanished, leaving only Julian and 4 of Vincent's men positioned strategically around the room. Vincent. Anthony spread his arms as if greeting an old friend. So good of you to accept my impromptu visit. And this? His gaze slid to Mia, and she felt it like oil on her skin. This must be the infamous Ms. Dawson. Mr. Marchetti, Vincent's voice was ice. You're in my building uninvited. Make your point quickly. Anthony's smile widened. Always so direct. Your father had better manners, God rest his soul. He took a step toward Mia, and Vincent shifted almost imperceptibly, placing himself slightly between them. I just wanted to meet the woman who's caused so much excitement lately. Tell me, Ms. Dawson, are you enjoying your new position? Mia's mouth went dry, but she forced herself to meet his eyes. I don't know what you're talking about. Oh, don't be modest. Anthony circled them slowly, a predator assessing prey. A waitress one day, living in Vincent Hagen's penthouse the next. Quite the promotion. Though I wonder, does he know? Vincent's body went rigid. Know what? Anthony's laugh was like broken glass. Oh, this is delicious. He doesn't know. You didn't tell him, did you, Mia? Or should I call you by your mother's maiden name, Mia Castellano? The floor tilted beneath Mia's feet. What? Your mother, Anthony continued, clearly savoring every word. Elena Castellano before she married and became Elena Dawson. Didn't she ever tell you about her family? About her brother? My mother was an only child, Mia said, but her voice wavered. Her mother had never talked about her past, always changing the subject when Mia asked about grandparents, aunts, uncles. Is that what she told you? Anthony pulled out his phone, showing her a photograph. It was old, the colors faded. A young woman who looked heartbreakingly like Mia stood beside a teenage boy. They were both smiling, their arms around each other. This is your mother at 16. And that's her brother, Leo Castellano. My former partner before Vincent's father had him killed 20 years ago. The world stopped. Mia stared at the photo, at her mother's face, so young, so happy, so alive. At the boy beside her who had her eyes, her smile. Family she'd never known existed. You're lying, she whispered. Am I? Anthony's voice was almost gentle now, which made it worse. Elena Castellano witnessed her brother's murder. She went into hiding, changed her name, built a new life far from Chicago. She spent 20 years running from this world. His eyes gleamed with malicious pleasure. And now her daughter has walked right back into it. Poetic, really. Vincent's face had gone pale. Mia. Did you know? She turned to him, her voice breaking. Did you know who my mother was? No. I swear, I didn't. But you researched me. You said you knew everything about me. Surface level, Vincent said desperately. Financial records, employment history. I didn't dig into, he stopped, realization dawning. The medical debt. Your mother's cancer treatment. I should have questioned why she had no insurance, no family helping. She was hiding. Anthony chuckled. And now the truth comes out. Your mother spent her final years in debt, in pain, alone. All because she ran from the family that could have helped her. From me. He took another step toward Mia. I could have saved her, you know. One phone call, and I would have paid for the best doctors, the best treatment. But she chose to die rather than ask the Castellanos for help. Rage exploded through Mia's grief. You mean the family that murdered her brother? I can't imagine why she didn't want your help. Leo was killed because he stole from the Hagens. Anthony shot back, his mask slipping. Vincent's father ordered the hit, and my family lost one of our own. So I suppose there's a beautiful symmetry to this, Leo's niece, working for the son of the man who killed him. The revelation hit Mia like a physical blow. Vincent's father had killed her uncle. Her mother had spent her entire life running from the fallout of that murder. And now Mia was living with, falling for, the son of her family's killer. Get out, Vincent said, his voice deadly quiet. Get out of my building before I forget we're not at war. Yet. Anthony's smile returned. Of course. I've said what I came to say. He looked at Mia one last time. When you're ready to know the truth about your family, the real truth, Not the sanitized version. Call me. The Castellanos take care of their own. Even long-lost nieces. He left with his men, and the silence he left behind was deafening. Mia couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. Her entire life had been a lie. Her mother, the woman who'd raised her with such fierce protective love, had been running from a murdered brother, from a crime family, from a past that had now swallowed her daughter whole. Mia. Vincent reached for her, but she stepped back. Don't. We need to talk about this. Your father killed my uncle. The words tore from her throat. My mother lost her brother, her family, everything because of your father. And you brought me into this world, into your organization, without knowing, she couldn't finish. The irony was too cruel, too painful. I didn't know, Vincent said, and there was anguish in his voice. I swear on everything I didn't know. But Mia, listen to me, Anthony Marchetti is a liar. He's manipulating you, using your grief against you. Whatever happened 20 years ago, it's not. Not what? Not relevant. Mia's vision blurred with tears. My mother died alone, in debt, in pain, because she was running from this. From you. From all of this. And I promised her I'd become a doctor, have a normal life, stay away from violence and crime and, her voice broke. And now I'm living with the son of the man who destroyed her life. My father was a monster, Vincent said quietly. I know that. I've spent 3 years trying to undo the damage he did, trying to make the organization legitimate, trying to clean up his blood-soaked legacy. But I am not my father. And I'm not supposed to be here. Mia wrapped her arms around herself, feeling like she was shattering. This was never supposed to be my life. But it is, Vincent said, and he closed the distance between them, his hands framing her face with devastating gentleness. Like it or not, you're here. You're in danger. And whether I'm the son of the man who killed your uncle or just another criminal who dragged you into this mess, the fact remains, I'm the only thing standing between you and the Marchettis. Between you and Anthony, who will use you to start a war. Tears spilled down Mia's cheeks. I don't even know who I am anymore. You're Mia Dawson, Vincent said fiercely. You're the woman who's been carrying debt that wasn't yours, fighting for dreams everyone told you to give up, surviving when it would have been easier to break. You're your mother's daughter, which means you're a survivor. And whatever blood runs in your veins, whatever family history you're carrying, you're still you. How can you say that? Mia whispered. How can you even look at me, knowing? Because I'm falling for you, Vincent said, and the rawness in his voice stopped her heart. Because every instinct I have is screaming to push you away, send you somewhere safe, get you out of this world before it destroys you like it destroyed my father's love, like it destroyed your mother's brother. But I can't. Because when I look at you, I don't see Elena Castellanos' daughter or a liability or a complication. I see the woman who's made me remember what I'm fighting for. Why I'm trying to burn this empire down and build something clean from the ashes. Mia stared at him, this dangerous man with blood on his family name and grief in his eyes. This man who'd blackmailed her into his world and was now looking at her like she was something precious, something worth the risk. This is insane, she breathed. I know. We can't, this can't. I know. Vincent. He kissed her. It was soft at first, tentative, asking permission even as it stole her breath. Mia knew she should pull away, should remember all the reasons this was wrong, dangerous, impossible. But instead, she leaned into him, her hands fisting in his shirt, and kissed him back with all the fear and anger and desperate need coursing through her. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Vincent rested his forehead against hers. We'll figure this out, he murmured. The Marchettis, your mother's past, all of it. Together. Together, Mia echoed, and despite everything, despite the revelations, the danger, the impossible complications, she believed him. But neither of them saw Sophia standing in the shadows, her phone to her ear, her face twisted with something that looked dangerously like betrayal. Neither of them knew that the greatest threat wasn't the Marchettis outside. It was the enemy already inside, wearing a trusted face. The next 48 hours felt like a dream, or maybe the calm before a storm Mia should have seen coming. Vincent had moved her to a safe house outside the city, a lakefront estate surrounded by security. They spent those stolen days piecing together her mother's past. Julian had found records. Elena Castellano had indeed had a brother, Leo, who'd been killed in 1998 in what police had ruled a gang execution. Vincent's father had been questioned but never charged. She protected you, Vincent said one evening as they sat by the fireplace, Old newspaper clippings spread between them. She built an entire life to keep you away from this world. And I walked right back into it anyway, Mia said bitterly. No. Vincent took her hand, his thumb tracing her knuckles. You were dragged into it. There's a difference. In those quiet moments, Mia let herself forget the danger. Forget that she was falling for a man whose father had destroyed her family. Forget that somewhere out there, the Mocchettis were planning their next move. She should have known it couldn't last. It was Sophia who shattered the illusion. She arrived at the safe house on the third morning, her usual composed mask cracking at the edges. We need to talk. All of us. Now. They gathered in Vincent's office, Mia, Vincent, Julian, and Sophia. The tension was thick enough to choke on. I received a call last night, Sophia began, her voice tight. From my contact in the FBI. They've been building a case against the Mocchettis for months. Human trafficking, racketeering, murder. She paused, her eyes locking on Vincent. And they want to bring you down with them. Vincent went still. What? They have evidence linking Hagen imports to money laundering. Financial records that show you've been cleaning Mocchetti money for the past 2 years. Sophia's hands trembled as she opened a folder, spreading documents across the desk. Wire transfers, shell corporations, offshore accounts. It's all here. That's impossible, Vincent said, but his face had gone pale. I severed all ties with the Mocchettis when I took over. Everything I've done has been to go legitimate. Then explain these. Sophia pointed to a series of transactions. $20 million moving through your companies to Mocchetti fronts. All within the last 18 months. Mia watched Vincent's face cycle through shock, confusion, and then a terrible realization. These are fake. Someone planted this evidence. The FBI doesn't think so, Sophia said quietly. They're moving forward with indictments. Against you, against Julian, against everyone in your inner circle. Her eyes flicked to Mia. Including her. What? Mia's blood turned to ice. I just got here. I haven't done anything. You're living in his house. You're listed as an employee of Hagen Imports. On paper, you're complicit. Sophia's expression was pained. I'm sorry, Mia. But the FBI sees you as either a co-conspirator or a potential witness they can flip. Vincent slammed his hand on the desk. Who did this? Who had access to plant false records in my system? The silence that followed was damning. It had to be someone inside, Julian said slowly. Someone with high-level access to your financial systems. Someone you trust. Vincent's eyes moved around the room, landing on each of them in turn. Mia saw the moment the walls went up, the moment trust shattered. 3 years of building a loyal inner circle, and now he didn't know who'd betrayed him. There's more, Sophia said, and Mia heard something break in her voice. The FBI is offering a deal. Full immunity for anyone willing to testify against you. They've already approached me. The words hung in the air like a guillotine blade. Vincent stood slowly, his face a mask of ice. And what did you tell them? I told them I needed time to think. Sophia met his gaze, and Mia saw tears gathering in her eyes. Vincent, I've been with you for 3 years. I've helped you try to go legitimate. I've believed in what we're building. But if the FBI can prove these charges, if they can tie you to trafficking and murder. I didn't do this. Vincent's control cracked. Everything in those files is fabricated. The Mocchettis are framing me to start a war, to force the FBI to take me down for them. Then prove it, Sophia challenged. Because right now, the evidence says you're exactly what everyone thinks you are. A crime boss. Your father's son. The accusation landed like a knife between his ribs. Mia watched Vincent flinch, watched years of effort and sacrifice get reduced to nothing. Get out, Vincent said quietly. Vincent. Get out. His roar shook the room. Until I know who planted this evidence, I can't trust anyone. That includes you. Sophia's face crumpled. She looked at Julian, who wouldn't meet her eyes. Then at Mia. I'm sorry, she whispered. For all of this. She left, the door closing behind her with terrible finality. Vincent stood at the window, his shoulders rigid. Julian. I need you to sweep the entire organization. Find out who had access to those accounts. I don't care how long it takes or what you have to do. Someone betrayed me, and I want their name. And if it's someone I don't care who it is, Vincent cut him off. Find them. Julian left, leaving Mia alone with a man who suddenly felt like a stranger. Vincent, she started, but he held up a hand. Don't. Just, don't. This isn't your fault. Isn't it? He turned to face her, and the anguish in his eyes stole her breath. I brought you into this. I promised I could protect you. And now you're facing federal charges for crimes you didn't commit. In a world you never should have entered, all because I was selfish enough to keep you close when I should have sent you far away. You didn't know this would happen. I should have. His voice broke. My father made the same mistake. He kept someone innocent close, thought he could protect her, and they both died for it. And now I'm doing the exact same thing with you. Mia moved toward him, but he stepped back, putting the desk between them. No, he said firmly. This was a mistake. All of it. The contract, keeping you here, letting myself. He stopped, jaw clenched. I'm sending you away. Tonight. Julian will take you somewhere the FBI can't find you, somewhere the Marchettis can't reach you. You can't just ship me off. Yes, I can. Your contract is void. I'll still pay off your debts, still cover medical school. But you're leaving. Now. Vincent, please. This isn't a discussion, Mia. His shout echoed off the walls. I can't focus on finding the traitor, on clearing my name, on fighting the Marchettis if I'm constantly terrified that you'll be caught in the crossfire. Don't you understand? You're the weakness they'll exploit. You're the leverage that will destroy me. The words cut deeper than any blade. Is that all I am to you? A weakness? Something flickered in Vincent's eyes, pain, longing, regret, but his voice stayed cold. You're a complication I can't afford. I should have seen that from the beginning. Before Mia could respond, the window exploded. Glass shattered inward as gunfire erupted. Vincent threw himself across the desk, tackling Mia to the ground as bullets tore through the room. The fireplace mantel splintered. Books exploded off shelves. Chaos and smoke and the deafening crack of weapons fire. Stay down. Vincent covered her body with his, and Mia felt him jerk as a bullet grazed his shoulder. His blood was hot against her skin. Vincent. I'm fine. Don't move. He was shouting into his phone. We're under attack. South side, multiple shooters. Get everyone to the safe room now. The gunfire intensified. Through the shattered windows, Mia saw muzzle flashes in the tree line. At least 5 shooters, maybe more. The safe house, Vincent's fortress, had been compromised. Julian burst through the door, his own gun drawn. They've breached the perimeter. 3 men down, more coming through the lakeside. How? Vincent demanded. How did they find this location? Julian's face was ashen. Only 4 people knew about this safe house. You, me, Sophia, and, he stopped, realization dawning. No. She wouldn't. But even as he said it, Mia saw the truth in his eyes. Sophia. The woman they trusted. The woman who'd been offered immunity by the FBI. The woman who'd looked betrayed when she saw Vincent and Mia kiss. She'd given up their location. We need to move, Julian said. There's an escape tunnel through the basement. It leads to the boat dock. Another explosion rocked the house. The east wall erupted in flames. They weren't just under attack. The Marchettis were burning them out. Vincent grabbed Mia's hand, pulling her toward the door. But as they reached the hallway, a figure stepped out of the smoke. Anthony Marchetti, flanked by 4 armed men, smiled. Going somewhere? Vincent pushed Mia behind him, his hand moving to the weapon at his back. But Anthony's men already had them in their sights. One wrong move, and they'd both be dead. You have something that belongs to me, Anthony said, looking at Mia. My partner's niece. Family. She's not going anywhere with you, Vincent growled. Oh, I think she is. Anthony pulled out his phone, showing them a photograph. Mia's stomach dropped. It was Rebecca, bound to a chair, terror in her eyes. You see, Ms. Dawson, while Vincent was playing protector, we were making insurance policies. Come with me quietly, and your friend lives. Resist, and we'll deliver her to you in pieces. No, Mia whispered. Please, she has nothing to do with this. She has everything to do with this, Anthony cut her off. You're Castellano blood. You belong with your family. With us. And once you testify that Vincent Hagen kidnapped you, forced you to work for him, held you against your will, his smile widened. Well, that's just the ammunition the FBI needs to put him away forever. Mia looked at Vincent, saw the calculation in his eyes, the terrible decision he was facing. If he fought, Rebecca died. If he let Mia go, She'd be used to destroy everything he'd built. There was no good choice. No way out. They'd been outmaneuvered from every angle. It's okay, Mia said quietly, and saw Vincent's eyes widen with understanding and horror. Let me go. Mia, no. If you fight, people die. More people. Good people. She stepped out from behind him, even as every instinct screamed to stay. I'll go with him. I'll figure something out. How noble, Anthony purred. Just like your mother. She chose death over compromise too. Look how well that turned out. Vincent caught Mia's wrist, his grip desperate. I will come for you, he said, low and fierce. I will burn down everything in my path, but I will come for you. Do you understand? I know, Mia whispered, memorizing his face, the blue eyes fierce with promise, the blood on his shoulder, the man she'd fallen for despite every reason not to. I know. Anthony's men pulled her away. The last thing Mia saw before they dragged her into the smoke and flames was Vincent on his knees, Julian restraining him, both of them surrounded by the burning ruins of everything they'd tried to build. The Marchetti compound was everything Mia expected and worse, a sprawling estate on the outskirts of Chicago that looked like old money but smelled like blood. They'd locked her in a bedroom on the 3rd floor, bars on the windows, guards outside the door. A gilded cage for the long-lost niece. She'd been there for 6 hours. 6 hours of pacing, planning, and trying not to think about Vincent bleeding in the ruins of the safe house. 6 hours of wondering if he was even alive. The door opened. Anthony Marchetti entered, carrying a tray of food like they were having a family dinner instead of a kidnapping. You should eat, he said, setting it on the desk. You look pale. Where's Rebecca? Mia demanded. Your friend is fine. Frightened, but unharmed. She'll stay that way as long as you cooperate. Anthony sat in the chair across from her, studying her with unnerving intensity. You look so much like Elena. Same eyes, same stubborn chin. Leo used to say she could convince anyone of anything when she set her mind to it. Don't talk about my mother. Don't talk about my uncle. You don't have that right. I have every right, Anthony said quietly, and for the first time, Mia heard something genuine in his voice. Leo was my best friend. We grew up together, built the Castellano-Marchetti partnership together. And when the Hagans killed him, they didn't just take your uncle. They took my brother in every way that mattered. Mia wanted to hate him. Needed to hate him. But the grief in his eyes looked uncomfortably real. If you cared about him so much, she said carefully, why did you let my mother run? Why didn't you protect her? Something dark crossed Anthony's face. I tried. I begged her to stay, promised her safety. But Helena blamed me as much as the Hagans. She said if I'd been there that night, if I'd been watching Leo's back like I was supposed to. He stopped, jaw clenched. She wasn't wrong. I failed him. Failed her. I've lived with that for 20 years. So this is about redemption? Mia asked. Kidnapping me, framing Vincent, that's how you make peace with your guilt. This is about justice. Anthony's mask cracked. Vincent Hagen's father took everything from me. Now I'm going to take everything from his son. Starting with you. I'm not his, Mia said, but the words felt hollow. Anthony laughed. Please. I saw the way he looked at you in that lobby. The way he shielded you during the attack. Vincent Hagen is falling for you the same way his father fell for that accountant. History repeating itself. And just like before, it's going to destroy him. Mia's mind raced. What do you mean, just like before? Anthony frowned. The accountant. The woman his father loved. The Hagens claimed we killed them both, started this blood feud over it. But it was a useful lie. Lie. Mia's heart started pounding. What lie? We didn't kill Vincent's father or his lover, Anthony said. Someone else did. Someone who wanted the Hagens and Marchettis at war, too busy destroying each other to notice they were being played. He leaned forward. And that same someone has been manipulating Vincent for 3 years, planting evidence, feeding him information, making him think he's going legitimate while actually. The door burst open. One of Anthony's men stood there, his face pale. Sir, we have a problem. The shipment from the port, it's gone. Intercepted. Anthony shot to his feet. What? How? Someone tipped off the feds. They knew exactly where and when. Everything's gone. 60 million in product and cash. Anthony's face turned purple with rage. Who knew about that shipment? Only the inner circle, sir. You, me, Castellano, and... The man stopped, his eyes widening. And the contact. The one who's been feeding us information about Hagen's operations. Mia's breath caught. Who's your contact? Anthony and his man exchanged glances. Then Anthony smiled, slow and cold. You still don't see it, do you? The person who's been playing both sides. The person who gave us Vincent's safe house location. The person who planted false evidence to frame him with the FBI. He pulled out his phone, showing her a contact name. Sophia Keller. No, Mia whispered. She wouldn't. Oh, but she would. And she has been, for 2 years. Feeding us information, sabotaging Vincent's legitimate business ventures, ensuring he stayed entangled in the criminal world. Anthony's expression darkened. What she didn't tell me was that she was also feeding the FBI information about MY operations. Playing us all like puppets. Realization crashed over Mia like a wave. She's working for the FBI. She has been from the beginning. That's why she approached them for immunity. It wasn't betrayal, it was her way in. She's been building a case against both of you. And using you as the perfect witness, Anthony added. An innocent dragged into Vincent's world. Sympathetic. Credible. Someone a jury would believe when you testified about the kidnapping, the coercion, the crimes you witnessed. Mia's mind spun. Sophia had been the traitor, but not in the way they'd thought. She wasn't working for the Mocchettis or protecting Vincent. She'd been orchestrating everything, the war between families, the FBI investigation, even Mia's involvement, to take down Chicago's entire organized crime infrastructure in one move. Where is she now? Mia asked. That, Anthony said grimly, is an excellent question. Meanwhile, across the city, Vincent sat in the burned ruins of his safe house, blood seeping through the bandage on his shoulder, surrounded by the few men he still trusted. Julian stood beside him, both of them staring at the evidence they'd uncovered. It was Sophia, Julian said, his voice hollow. All of it. The planted financial records, the leaked safe house location, everything. I found her communications with the FBI. She's been undercover for 2 years, since before you even took over. Vincent's hands clenched into fists. My father. The woman he loved. Were we wrong? Did the Mocchettis not kill them? Julian pulled up an old police report on his tablet. I've been digging into the original investigation. There were inconsistencies. The bullets used didn't match Mocchetti weapons. The timing was off. And there was a witness who was never interviewed, a hostess at the restaurant who disappeared the next day. Let me guess, Vincent said bitterly. She worked for the FBI too. No. Julian's face was grim. She worked for Sophia's father, who was the head of Chicago's FBI organized crime division until he was killed 3 years ago. By the Mocchettis. Everything clicked into place. This is personal for her. Revenge. She's been systematically destroying both families to avenge her father's death, Julian confirmed. And she's using Mia as the linchpin. An innocent witness whose testimony will seal both organizations' fates. Vincent stood abruptly, ignoring the pain in his shoulder. Where's Mia being held? We don't know yet, but find out. Now. I don't care what you have to do or who you have to threaten. Find her. Vincent's voice was steel. Sophia wants a war between the Hagens and Mocchettis? Fine. But she's about to learn what happens when you unite common enemies against a greater threat. Julian's eyes widened. You're going to approach Mocchetti? That's insane. Maybe. Vincent checked his weapon, his face set with deadly determination. But Sophia's made one critical mistake. She assumed Mia was just an innocent pawn. A weakness to exploit. His eyes blazed with something fierce and unbreakable. But Mia Dawson is her mother's daughter. And Elena Castellano survived your attack, stayed hidden for 20 years, and raised a daughter strong enough to walk into hell without breaking. Sophia thinks she's cornered a victim. She's actually trapped a survivor. And what are you? Julian asked quietly. Vincent loaded his gun with precise, controlled movements. I'm the man who's going to burn down everyone who touched her. Starting with our mutual enemy. He pulled out his phone and dialed a number he'd sworn never to use. Anthony Mocchetti answered on the first ring. Hagen. Come to beg for your girlfriend's life. I've come to propose a temporary truce, Vincent said coldly. Because we have a bigger problem than our family feud. And if you want to survive the next 48 hours, you'll want to hear what I have to say about the FBI agent who's been playing us both for fools. There was a long pause. Then, I'm listening. In her locked room, Mia heard voices outside her door. Guards arguing. Then silence. Then the door opened, and Rebecca stumbled in, bruised but alive. Rebecca. Mia rushed to her friend, pulling her into a fierce hug. I'm okay, Rebecca gasped. But Mia, listen, they don't know I heard this, but Anthony was on the phone. With Vincent. Mia's heart stopped. Vincent's alive. Very. And very pissed. Rebecca's eyes gleamed despite her fear. He's coming for you. And apparently, he's bringing the enemy of our enemy. Whatever that means. Mia understood immediately. Vincent and Anthony. Natural enemies united against Sophia's manipulation. It was insane. Dangerous. Impossible. It was also their only chance. Then we'd better be ready, Mia said, her voice steady with newfound purpose. Because when they come, all hell is going to break loose. Her mother had spent 20 years running from this world. But Mia wasn't running anymore. She was going to fight her way out. And when she saw Vincent again, not if, when, she was going to show him exactly what it meant to fall for a survivor. The plan came together in 72 hours. Vincent and Anthony Marchetti sat across from each other in a neutral location, a Catholic church neither family controlled, and brokered the most unlikely alliance Chicago had ever seen. Two crime families, enemies for decades, united by a common goal: destroy the woman who'd orchestrated their mutual destruction. When this is over, Anthony said, his voice like gravel, we go back to war. Agreed, Vincent replied. But first, we get Mia and Rebecca out alive. And we make Sophia Keller answer for every manipulation, every death, every lie. They shook hands over a pew, in the shadow of a cross, sealing a truce with the devil himself. Day 1 of the plan. Julian tracked Sophia's movements. She'd gone underground after the safe house attack, but she'd made one mistake: she still checked in with her FBI handler. A handler who, after some creative persuasion from Vincent's tech expert, revealed that Sophia was planning to move Mia within 48 hours. Transfer her to federal custody as a rescued witness, where she'd be prepped to testify against both families. She'll never make it to trial, Anthony said darkly during their strategy session. No, Vincent agreed. Because we're going to take her down first. But we do this right. Legal, where possible. We expose her to her own agency, show them she's gone rogue, playing both sides for personal revenge. Anthony raised an eyebrow. Since when do you care about legal? Since the woman I love is watching, Vincent said quietly. Mia deserves to see that not everything has to end in blood. Day 2. Mia and Rebecca worked on their own plan. The guards changed shifts at 6 a.m. and 6 p.m., Mia whispered, watching the patterns from her barred window. There's a 15-second gap when the hallway is clear. 15 seconds to get past a locked door, Rebecca pointed out. Even in my crime show binges, that's impossible. Not if we pick the lock. Mia held up a hairpin she'd been systematically bending for 2 days. My mom taught me when I was 12. She said. Her voice caught. She said a woman should always know how to free herself. Rebecca squeezed her hand. Your mom was a badass. And so are you. At 5:58 a.m., they made their move. Mia's hands shook as she worked the lock, the pins clicking, catching, almost there. The lock gave. They slipped into the hallway just as the guard rotation began. Down the servants' stairs, through the kitchen where early morning staff were too busy to notice two terrified women. Out the service entrance into the cold November dawn. We'll never make it off the property, Rebecca gasped as they ran. There are walls, gates, guards everywhere. A black SUV pulled up beside them. The door opened, and Julian leaned out. Get in. Now. Mia hesitated for only a second before pulling Rebecca into the vehicle. It roared away from the compound just as alarms began to wail behind them. Vincent sent you, Mia said, not a question. He's been watching the compound for 2 days, waiting for the right moment to extract you, Julian confirmed. But you saved us the trouble. Impressive lockpicking, by the way. Where is he? Mia asked. Julian's expression hardened. Preparing to end this. Tonight. The FBI is raiding both the Marchetti compound and Sophia's safe house. Vincent and Anthony are making sure Sophia has nowhere left to run. The FBI is raiding Anthony's compound. Rebecca looked confused. But we just escaped from there. Exactly, Julian said with a grim smile. With Mia free, Sophia's lost her leverage. The FBI thinks they're rescuing a hostage. Instead, they're going to find evidence Vincent and Anthony have been planting for the past 2 days. Evidence of Sophia's manipulation. Her communications with both sides. Proof that she's been orchestrating a gang war for personal revenge. She'll run, Mia said. The moment she realizes her plan is falling apart. She already is, Julian interrupted, pulling up a tracking screen on his phone. We've been monitoring her movements. She's heading to O'Hare Airport. Private terminal. She has a flight leaving in 90 minutes. Then that's where we're going, Mia said firmly. Julian shook his head. Vincent said to take you somewhere safe. Vincent doesn't get to make that choice, Mia cut him off. This started because of a text I sent. Because I saw something I shouldn't have. It ends with me there, facing the woman who tried to turn my life into a weapon. Julian studied her for a long moment. Then he smiled. Your mother would be proud. He changed direction, heading for the airport. But for the record, Vincent is going to kill me for this. Not if I kill him first for trying to protect me instead of trusting me, Mia muttered. Rebecca laughed despite everything. Girl, you really did fall for a mafia boss. Shut up, Mia said, but she couldn't help the small smile. O'Hare International Airport, private terminal. Sophia Keller moved through the terminal with practiced efficiency. Everything was falling apart, but she'd planned for this contingency. New identity, offshore accounts, a country with no extradition treaty. She'd failed to take down both families, but she'd inflicted enough damage to honor her father's memory. She never saw Vincent until he stepped out of the shadows, blocking her path to the plane. Going somewhere? He asked quietly. Sophia's hand moved to the gun at her hip, but Anthony Marchetti emerged from the other direction, his own weapon drawn. I wouldn't, Anthony said. We're in an airport. Security cameras everywhere. FBI agents in the next terminal. You shoot either of us, you'll never make it to your plane. Sophia's eyes darted between them, calculating odds. This is unexpected. The Hagen and Marchetti patriarchs, working together. My father always said you were too proud for alliances. Your father, Vincent said, was a good man who died fighting real monsters. What you've become? This vendetta that's killed innocent people, destroyed families, all in his name? That's not honor. That's obsession. You don't get to lecture me, Sophia spat. Your father killed Vincent's lover to maintain his criminal empire. The Marchettis killed my father when he got too close to bringing them down. You're both monsters wearing human faces, and I regret nothing I've done to destroy you. What about Mia? Another voice cut through the tension. Sophia spun as Mia stepped into view, flanked by Julian and Rebecca. Her carefully controlled expression cracked. Mia. You're supposed to be. Your pawn? Mia finished. Your perfect innocent witness? The sympathetic victim who'd seal both families' fates. She moved closer, her voice steady despite the fear coursing through her. You manipulated everyone. Used my mother's past, my uncle's death, my debt, you turned my entire life into ammunition. Your collateral damage, Sophia said coldly. Nothing personal. It's extremely personal. Mia's voice rose. You sent me that first text, didn't you? The reply that said who's asking. That wasn't Vincent's number. It was yours. You were already tracking the apartment building, watching the shipment. When I texted by mistake, you saw an opportunity and forwarded my message to Vincent, making him think I'd contacted him directly. Sophia's silence was confirmation. You orchestrated everything from the beginning, Mia continued, the pieces falling into place. You wanted Vincent to bring me in, to make me visible, so the Marchettis would see me as leverage. You planted the evidence against Vincent, then offered yourself to the FBI as a cooperating witness, making it look like you were being heroic while actually controlling both investigations. And when it all started falling apart, you gave the Marchettis Vincent's safe house location, hoping we'd all kill each other and save you the trouble. You're smarter than I gave you credit for, Sophia admitted. Too bad it won't matter. It already does, Vincent said. He held up his phone, showing a video feed. FBI agents surrounding them, weapons drawn. You've been on camera this entire time. Admitting to evidence tampering, conspiracy, attempted murder. Your own agency just heard everything. The color drained from Sophia's face. Special Agent Sophia Keller, the lead FBI agent said, stepping forward with handcuffs. You're under arrest for obstruction of justice, conspiracy to commit murder, evidence tampering, and about 15 other charges we'll add as we go. Sophia's hand moved to her gun in a last desperate act, but Mia was faster. The self-defense moves from that college class, the ones she'd thought useless, came back in a rush. She grabbed Sophia's wrist, twisted, and sent the weapon clattering across the floor. For a moment, their eyes met. Two women whose fathers' legacies had defined their paths. One who'd let vengeance consume her. One who'd chosen to survive instead. "I'm sorry about your father," Mia said quietly. "But destroying innocent people won't bring him back. My mother learned that. I hope someday you will too." As the FBI led Sophia away, Mia felt the weight of the past weeks finally lift. It wasn't over, there would be testimonies, trials, months of legal battles. But the immediate danger, the suffocating fear, was gone. She turned to find Vincent watching her with an expression that made her heart stutter. "You were supposed to wait in the car," he said, but there was no anger in his voice. Only awe. "When have I ever done what I'm supposed to?" Mia replied. Vincent closed the distance between them, his hands framing her face with devastating gentleness. "Never. Thank God." He kissed her then, soft and desperate and full of promises. When they broke apart, he rested his forehead against hers. "I'm sorry. For bringing you into this, for trying to push you away, for—" "Stop apologizing," Mia interrupted. "I made my choices. I'm still making them." She looked at Anthony, who stood awkwardly nearby. "Starting with this, I want to know about my uncle. The real story. All of it." Anthony's expression softened. "Leo would have loved you. Your fire, your courage. Your family, Mia. Whatever happens between the Hagans and Mocchettis going forward, that doesn't change." "Then maybe it's time the families found a new way forward too," Mia said, looking between them. "Sophia wanted you at war. The best revenge is proving her wrong. Build something better. Both of you." Vincent and Anthony exchanged glances. The old hatred was still there, years of blood and loss. But so was something new. Possibility. "We'll see," Anthony said gruffly. But he extended his hand to Vincent one more time. "Truce holds until the trials are over. After that, we're legitimate businessmen," Vincent finished. "Competitors, maybe. But not murderers. Not our father's legacies." He shook Anthony's hand. "Deal." As Anthony walked away, his men falling into step beside him, Rebecca appeared at Mia's side. "So," her friend said with a weak smile. "This is what you've been doing instead of binge-watching crime shows with me?" Mia laughed, the sound breaking through the last of her tension. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry you got dragged into this." "Are you kidding?" Rebecca hugged her fiercely. "This is the most insane week of my life, and I've never been more terrified, but you're alive. That's all that matters." She pulled back, grinning. "Also, you took down a corrupt FBI agent with a self-defense move. That was badass." "I learned from the best," Mia said, thinking of her mother. Elena Castellano, who'd survived violence and loss and built a life from ashes. Who taught her daughter to pick locks and stand tall and never, ever let the darkness win. Vincent's arm slid around Mia's waist, anchoring her. "Ready to go home?" Mia looked at him, this dangerous man with blood on his hands and hope in his eyes. This impossible choice that had somehow become the only choice that mattered. "Yes," she said. "Take me home." But as they walked toward the exit, toward whatever future they'd build from the ruins of the past, Mia knew one thing with absolute certainty. She wasn't the frightened waitress who'd sent a wrong text anymore. She was Elena Castellano's daughter. Leo's niece. A survivor who'd walked through hell and come out stronger. And whatever came next, trials, threats, the complicated legacy of loving a reformed crime boss, she would face it the same way she'd faced everything else. With courage, with fire, and with the unshakable knowledge that she was exactly where she was meant to be. 6 months later. Mia stood in the Northwestern University lecture hall, her white coat crisp and new, the stethoscope around her neck feeling like both a weight and a promise fulfilled. Outside the windows, Chicago sparkled in the May sunshine, the same city that had almost destroyed her, now watching her become everything her mother had dreamed. "Dr. Dawson," her anatomy professor called. "Your analysis of the cardiac pathology case." Dr. Dawson. The word still sent a thrill through her. She'd returned to medical school in January, every cent of her debt paid, her future finally her own. The trial testimonies had been brutal, 3 weeks of reliving the kidnapping, the manipulation, the violence. But she'd stood in that courtroom with her head high, told her truth, and watched Sophia Keller receive a 20-year sentence for conspiracy and obstruction of justice. The Moschetti and Hagen investigations had been more complicated. With Sophia's evidence ruled inadmissible due to her crimes, the FBI's case had collapsed. Both families had walked free, but not unchanged. After class, Mia found Vincent waiting by his car, looking impossibly handsome in a tailored suit, holding a bouquet of sunflowers, her mother's favorite. "How's my favorite medical student?" he asked, pulling her close. "Exhausted. Caffeinated. Happy." She kissed him, still marveling that this was her life now. "How was your meeting?" Vincent's smile widened. Hagen Imports just secured a contract with 3 major hospitals for medical supply distribution. Completely legitimate, completely clean. Anthony's shipping company is handling logistics. You and Anthony Mocchetti are actually working together. Mia shook her head in wonder. 6 months ago, you wanted to kill each other. 6 months ago, I hadn't met a woman stubborn enough to make me believe people could change. Vincent tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. Besides, your uncle would have wanted his family and his best friend's family to find peace. We're trying. The mention of Leo still hurt, but differently now. Anthony had given Mia boxes of photographs, stories, pieces of the uncle she'd never known. She'd learned that he'd been funny, kind, caught in a world that had ultimately killed him. But his legacy didn't have to be violence. It could be this: reconciliation, hope, new beginnings. Rebecca texted, Mia said, checking her phone. She wants to know if we're still on for dinner tomorrow. Wouldn't miss it. Vincent had helped Rebecca get a job at a legitimate news station, reporting on community stories instead of crime. She was thriving, and her friendship with Mia had only deepened through the trauma they'd survived together. They drove to the cemetery as the sun began to set. Mia knelt by her mother's grave, placing the sunflowers gently on the stone. "I did it, Mom," she whispered. "I'm back in school. I'm going to be a doctor. And I'm happy. Really happy." She touched the headstone, feeling the familiar ache of loss mixed with something new, gratitude. "You spent your whole life protecting me from this world. And I know you'd probably have a heart attack if you knew about Vincent. But Mom, he's good. He's trying to be better. And he loves me the way you taught me I deserve to be loved." Vincent's hand settled on her shoulder, warm and solid. "I wish you could have had this," Mia continued, tears slipping down her cheeks. "Wish you could have come home, made peace with your past, lived without fear. But I'm going to live enough for both of us. Promise." As they walked back to the car, Vincent stopped her. "There's something I need to ask you." Mia's heart jumped as he reached into his pocket. But instead of a ring, he pulled out a key. "I know it's early," he said, suddenly nervous in a way that made him seem younger, more vulnerable. "And I know you value your independence. But I bought a house. Near the hospital, near campus. It has a garden for sunflowers, a library for your textbooks, and enough space for whatever future we want to build." He pressed the key into her palm. "Move in with me. Not because you have to, not because of a contract or danger or any of the reasons that brought us together. But because we choose this. Choose each other." Mia looked at the key, then at Vincent, this man who'd been her captor, her protector, her partner, and finally, her choice. "Yes," she said, laughing through happy tears. "Yes, I'll move in with you. Yes to sunflower gardens and medical textbooks and building something beautiful from all this chaos." Vincent lifted her off her feet, spinning her in the fading sunlight, and Mia felt something she hadn't felt since before her mother got sick, pure, uncomplicated joy. "I love you," Vincent said against her hair. "My brilliant, stubborn, impossible survivor." "I love you too," Mia replied. "My reformed crime boss with a heart of gold and terrible timing." He laughed, the sound rich and free. "Terrible timing?" "I sent a wrong text and fell in love with a Mafia boss," Mia pointed out. "Our entire relationship is terrible timing. But somehow, it's also perfect." 1 year later, Mia walked across the stage to receive her medical degree, and in the crowd, Vincent stood cheering beside Rebecca, Julian, and, to her shock and joy, Anthony Mocchetti, who'd become an unlikely mentor, sharing stories of Leo and helping Mia understand the family history she'd inherited. The Mocchetti and Hagen families weren't perfect. They were still navigating the complicated transition from criminal enterprise to legitimate business. There were still threats, still dangers, still shadows from the past. But they were trying. And that was enough. That night, in the house with the sunflower garden, Vincent got down on one knee with a ring this time. "Mia Dawson," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "You walked into my world by accident and changed everything on purpose. Will you marry me?" "Yes," Mia said, pulling him up to kiss him. 1,000 times yes. As they celebrated with friends who'd become family, as sunflowers bloomed outside the window and Chicago glittered in the distance, Mia thought about the text message that had changed her life. The wrong number that had led to the right person. The mistake that had become destiny. Her mother had spent 20 years running from this world. But Mia had learned something Elena never got the chance to. Sometimes the most dangerous paths lead to the most beautiful destinations. Sometimes the wrong turn is exactly where you were meant to be all along. And sometimes, love finds you in the most impossible places, in the shadows, in the danger, in the moment you're brave enough to stop running and fight for the life you deserve. Mia Dawson had sent a wrong text to a mafia boss. Now, she was surrounded, not by enemies, but by love, hope, and a future brighter than any dream she dared to imagine. And that was the best kind of surprise of all. We have come to the end of the story. Thank you for watching to the end. Share with me in the comments how you feel about the story. If you enjoy the story, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. And also hit the notification bell so you won't miss any of our heartwarming stories like this.